Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Yes, I know it's been a long time since my last one, and I said I wasn't going to just like make a video and then leave for a very long time, but I tried to make some videos and they just never went to plan. I got to the end of them and stuff always went wrong, so I just never ended up finishing them. But yeah, I'm hoping to change that. I want to start doing more mechanical videos, parts installs, taking parts off, and like, you know, DIY. And yeah, then just heaps of other little fun stuff as well. So that's what we're doing in today's video, but I thought I'd give you a rundown on what's happened since my last video, because that was like a year ago. So I had a Mark V GTI Golf then, manual. I sold that because I wanted an automatic daily, so I thought I'd get something cool that only comes in automatic like a Lexus. So I ended up getting a Lexus IS200 from auction, sight unseen, for fairly cheap. So that should have been, you know, a sign maybe not to get it because it was a bit too cheap. So I wanted it, and I got it blue slipped. Came up from Canberra, got it blue slipped to New South Wales Rego, and it blew up within the first 30 minutes of driving it. So yeah, at the same time, I then had a white Mira, Daihatsu Mira, that I bought unregistered for 500 bucks. I put a clutch in it, put Rego on it, and I ended up swapping pretty much at the same time I bought the Lexus for a 2000 Lexus GS300, blacked out, slammed on its guts. It was proper Streeto spec, NA2J, you know, it had locked diff, muffler delete, slammed on its guts, bald tires. Like, it was just proper like skid spec, like you knew it had been skidded before, like with the lock diff. And then when I got it, it had bald tires. So the plan was to not daily that, just because it was going to be red hot and I was probably going to get defected straight away. But you know, then when I picked up the green Lexus, it blew up, so I had no car, and I wasn't game to drive the Mira I have that's this camera sitting on, because I would get defected in that as well. So that would be two defected cars and one blown up one. So I drove the Lexus GS300, and that lasted a week before I got defected, and he went over the car really, really well. Probably more than an hour of him just checking over the car, and then he called for backup as well and had another guy come look at it. So they thought it was pretty red hot. I knew it was red hot, but I knew it was going to happen, but it happened when I was getting lunch and I couldn't do anything about it. He saw me in the drive-thru and he just followed me, so that was off the road as well. So yeah, basically I had a defected Lexus and a blown up one. So I ended up taking the blown up Lexus apart. So that is the exhaust valve out of cylinder 4 on the Lexus. Oh, out of focus again. Come on. There we go. As you can see, it melted it away. Got the intake as well. There's a tiny little bit damage there, those black dots you can see. So yeah, that's why it had no power, or just not as much power as it was meant to have. So I did make a video on taking the defects off the GS300 and then putting them back on after I got the defects cleared. You know I've got to do a garage skid. Prank, they're not BC Racing coilovers. These are just Cusco ones that came in the car. So we've got one side down. I have to adjust the height to match the other one. But yeah, all back together. Here we are, probably 1.5 months later, and something just arrived for it that is going to be able to fix it. Is the upper control arm. But I ended up destroying a upper control arm ball joint in the process of putting the coilovers back in, and that was off the road for another month while I waited for an upper control arm with the ball joint in it. So I made a video on it and I just never finished it. So yeah, I then sold the black GS300. I put all the mods back on, drove it for a week, didn't want to get defected, and sold it and actually made profit off of it. So from the original money I spent on the Mira, and then the money I spent on that, including the $500 worth of defects, Yeah, I made like $500 off of it. If I didn't get defected, I would have made $1,000. But yeah, because of the defects and fixing the defects, I only made $500. But I could have made more if I just flipped it, which was what I was going to do if I didn't get defected. Here's the IS200 in its finished state. I finally finished it. Waited 6 months for parts out of Japan from Lexus, and then I did the head, got reconditioned, and then I also got a new VRS kit, so head gasket and all the upper gaskets. It's got the tan interior, automatic tan leather interior. Old people owned it, and the forest green colour. This is the daily AU Falcon Ute. Got Series 1 AU XR8 Tickford wheels, and that's pretty much it. An exhaust as well. But here is the reason for the video. If you're unaware of this car, it is my 1995 Daihatsu Mira L500. So it's a K car, 3-cylinder, 0.7 litre engine, 660cc. Very popular in Japan. It's considered a K car. This is an Oz spec with a bunch of Japanese parts on it. But yeah, it's one of the smallest cars on the road getting around, so I'm just going to be reverting it back to stock so it can be roadworthy. But I'll just go over what's done to it. Some new stuff since my last video. So we do have, for wheels, we have genuine 13-inch Volk AE Revolutions, and we've got some 145/60 R13 tyres, also imported. In the rear, I'm running like 15mm worth of spacer. In the front, I'm running about 30. I've got bolt-on and slip-on spacers. Suspension wise, this is the lowest Daihatsu Mira in Australia. There's a Mira Gino that is about the same, maybe a tiny little bit lower just because he has a body kit on it, but this is the lowest Daihatsu Mira in Australia, and probably one of the most modified, if not. There's a lot more that have engine modifications, but this one's probably got the most like exterior mods. So interior, we have a genuine Bride Lomax, and then also a genuine Bride Mira seat rail, which is pretty rare. We've just got a genuine Nardi 330mm steering wheel, the smallest one you can physically get. A Clubjoy shift knob, and then if I come around to this side, you can see a bit better. I've also got an extremely large tacho down there as well, and a Kenwood head unit as well. The battery is flat at the moment, just from one of the aftermarket, either the tacho or the head unit. I'm getting parasitic draw, so the battery keeps going flat and I have to jump start it every time I want to drive it. So you ask how this is the lowest Mira in Australia and how I got it that way. Basically, it's got no springs in the rear, and in the front it's got no springs either, so it's got independent rear and then just McPherson strut in the front, and the strut tops, well, the struts don't have springs in them. I've got -4 degrees of camber in the rear and -7 in the front, which doesn't do it justice on video, but it's got a fair bit of angle going on. Also, with the fitment in the front with the spacers, it's literally like fender to tire. I can't get it any lower physically, so yeah, this is as low as I can get it. I wish I could get it to lip to fender, but I just need to get some bigger wheels for that. In the rear, I've got 15mm spacer. I can't go any more, even though I want better fitment. Just the way the rear guards are designed, it just rubs tire heaps, and it normally just, even now, rubs the back of the bumper off when I'm driving. So yeah, there's probably some other stuff I've missed on this car that I've done as well, just because I've done so much to it and I've played around with it so much and taken it apart and put it back together. It's like basically like Lego to me. So whenever I just want to have some fun, I just take that apart and put it back together. So I know my way around this car pretty well, and these cars pretty well. But yeah, that's just the main stuff that everyone picks up on. It's definitely a head turner. Whenever I drive this, you know, I break necks. It gets a lot of police attention as well. So I luckily haven't been defected in this. I've been pulled over a few times, but I just don't drive it enough. It just usually parks in the shed, and I'll take it to like 2 car meets a year. I've probably taken it out since last video. I've probably taken it out like maybe 3 times. And just because of how low it is, everything underneath is bashed up as well. So when we lift it up to do some stuff to it, we'll have a look underneath as well and see what's damaged, because there's a fair bit damaged. So there is a list of things that need to come off this to get it roadworthy. Some of the more obvious ones: the bride seat. So from the interior, literally just the bride seat and the seat rail need to come out, and the shift knob for one that has a H pattern on it, and I'll put the stock seat back in. So we'll do that. Then suspension. I've got some stock suspension out of my other Mira earlier, so we're just going to bung that back in. Springs for the rear, whole strut assembly for the fronts, and we'll take the non-existent springs out of the rear. I mean, put some springs in it, and then in the front we'll just take the struts out, put new struts in as well. So then it'll be stock height, have stock interior mainly. The steering wheel doesn't need to come out just because these didn't have airbags in them, so the steering wheel's fine. Tacho and everything is fine as well. The exhaust is pretty loud, but it's fine, and it's one piece from the front all the way to the rear, so I don't have a replacement for that either. The most annoying bit it's going to be is I have these big brake kits in the front. They're off a turbo model, bigger caliper, bigger rotor, slotted and drilled rotors as well. And the problem is that they only fit, the smallest wheels they fit are 13 inch, and these aftermarket wheels I have are 13 inch. Isn't a big deal, the aftermarket wheels are fine for passing roadworthy. The only problem is I have these GK Tech wheel nuts, and hey, they're normal size wheel nuts on any other car, but because of the offset of these wheels and how small this car is, they stick out like, you know, like spikes pretty much. So and there's no, I've tested them with multiple different wheel nuts and they all have the same outcome. So to fix that, I have to take the wheels off and put the 12 inch steelies back on. But the only problem with that is that these big brakes won't fit 12 inch steelies, so the brakes are going to come off as well, and the stock stuff has to go back on, which is annoying because it's not just taking the caliper off and throwing a new disc on. The disc is bolted to the back of the hub, so I've got to take the whole hub off, which is a little bit annoying, and then obviously change out the caliper and then bleed the brakes as well. Enough of me talking, we should probably get to doing some work. So first things first, lifting it up. This thing's pretty small and low, which makes it hard to lift up, but conveniently, because it's so low, I've bashed the seals up, and it means that I can fit a jack under it just. So I'll lift it up. Also, because it's so small, you only have to lift the front or the rear up, and it lifts both. So both wheels are off the ground. So the Mira is now jacked up. It's a bit hard to film it. Obviously put it on jack stands just to be safe, and because I'll need the jack probably for installing the rear springs. So as well, I noticed there is a slight coolant leak and a slight oil leak. So while it's up in the air, we'll have a look and see where that's coming from. Time for the wheels off. Bit hard to do one-handed. Here we have the slip-on spacers as well on the front. The big brakes, slotted drilled rotors, and no springs. So I've taken the rear wheels off as well, and all the spacers. This is how it looks at the moment. And I'm just kind of building a damage report of stuff. As you can see, the arm is touching the exhaust, and the exhaust is bent up and has been burning away at the wrap for a little while. So that's one thing. It's probably just been bent up from how low it is and hitting stuff. I've hit stuff before as well. I've worked out where that oil's come from as well. It's actually from the axles, from the just like the CV bind and like the angle they're on, being front wheel drive, and because it's so low and all the camber, it's just leaking out of the seal. So hopefully when we get rid of the camber and put it back stock, the axle should go all the way in and seal properly this time. You can also see where, not really, the axle does rub on the body, just because of how low it is. But yeah, that's all really from this side. And I have noticed some wheel scrub as well on this side. But yeah, that's basically about it. So I'm going to stop doing this stuff while it's sort of like a better height to work on. I'm going to remove the bride and put the stock seat in, and also do the shift knob as well. I know it's extremely hard to get in this car, especially when it's so low and you're 6'4". The seat doesn't make it any easier. But it's a bit dark, but the shift knob is fairly easy to take off. All you do is spin it off. Keep spinning, keep spinning, keep spinning. Oh, no. Never mind. I lied. So this one is it's a universal. It's just it's a joy brake one. I do like joy brake. My floor mat's a joy brake. I've got joy brake stickers all over this car as well. They're universal, so I've also got all different shift knobs as well. Sahi Can, Boss Rainbow Mountain Blend, and a Pocari Sweat as well in there, and the stock one, I think, maybe not. I actually have to try and find where the stock one is. But then yeah, I've also got to put a spanner on this and get this black plastic adapter off as well. Down the stock shift knob, put that on. It's really weird and like it's rubbery and it's really sticky and weird, so I might just take it off again. But yeah, seat. So the seat is bolted to the bride seat rail, but I'm just going to take the rail off, which is 4 bolts, some in the rear, 2 in the front, so should be fairly simple. The seat's all unbolted, so I just got to carefully take it out without scratching anything. So we'll see how well it goes. It's kind of heavy, not really heavy, but like a little bit. So we're out. One bride seat out. Now we have the stock seat going in. It's a lot lighter than the bride, that's for sure. So here's interior done. Seat in, shift knob. I can leave everything else. So interior all done. We just got to do suspension and the wheels and the brakes. I've popped the bonnet and I forgot about the air intake. The pod filter has to come off as well. It's literally pretty easy. straight off. And then the stock airbox goes back on. You're meant to bolt it up. This sneaks in behind there. Straight on. Look at that, one-handed. So that's done now as well. Now we'll start on the rear suspension. I'm not sure how well you can see it. I'm just going to undo the bottom shock bolts. Oh no, other way around. Cool. Just gotta lift the arm a bit so I can get the bolt out. There's the bolt out and the arm drops. And then I get my spring. Have to line it up with the bump stop and try and lift it up, which I'm probably going to use the jack and jack it up. Makes it a lot easier. Then I can just jack it up to the right height and put the bolt in. The only problem is this exhaust is just hitting the arm, so it's making it a little bit hard. Both the rears are in now. This is the other one off camera. So it's all back together now as well. So now we're just going to do the two fronts and the brakes. So two 12mm for the strut top bolts, and then two bottom strut bolts as well that I'll take out. This side's all done. Obviously I'm just going to do a toe and go wheel alignment just by eyeing it off once I do the other side, just to make sure that, you know, the wheel's facing forward, because it's so small it doesn't fit on the alignment hoist. So it's my only way of doing alignments really. We're zooming along with this. Done the suspension all now. I just did this side. There's a little bit of, actually a fair bit of toe out on this one, so I have to do a little bit of a toe and go to fix that. And this one's relatively straight actually, so it probably just needs to come in a tiny little bit. So now I've just got to move on to the brakes. So now I've just got to take the calipers off, then take the hubs off and switch out the rotors, and then also switch out the backing plates as well for where the calipers bolt into. So just got some 17mm bolts here. I've already clamped off the caliper, as you can see. Calipers off. Now I'm just going to unscrew. So now we're just going to take the hub apart as well. Big 32mm nut. Washer as well. And now you can slide it straight off. I then just realized I actually didn't have to take the rotor off the hub, because I have the old rotor with the other hub, but this is just the size difference. Fairly bit bigger, that's probably about 2-3 mil bigger all around, so yeah, it did make a difference. It stopped a million times better, and especially because these are really old and they're so small you can't machine them, so you just have to replace them. Pretty simple to install as well. You just got to line the spline up, the one on the shaft. That should just push on if it wants to push on. I didn't want to come on too easy, so I got the dead blowout. Now I'm just tightening it up. Just like that. Everything's all back together. Obviously I still have to bleed it, and then from there it should be good. So I did a little bit off camera just because it was just quick and easy stuff. So bled the brakes, put up the brake fluid, and I've also done a toe adjustment, so they're nice and straight now. So we are pretty much nearing the end. It's only been an hour or so, which is it's pretty quick to change it over. It's just annoying when you have to do it. So I'll just put the wheels back on, and I've had a look underneath as well. Surprisingly, it's not as bashed up as I thought it was going to be, but there is still a lot of scrapes and scratches. The exhaust is pretty bent up. The frames are pretty bent up, or scraped up. The body itself underneath, there's a lot of scratches and scrapes. The fuel tank's been all scraped up as well, so I hope it doesn't leak. But yeah, it's not great. I'll have to get it on a hoist and have a better look at it, but it's not as bad as I thought, which is yeah, it's good. Off the jacks it comes. Well, here it is, back to stock. Put the hubcaps on as well. She's all stock. Super high, super high. I hate it. I've put tire shine on the wheels, make them look a little less crusty than the interior with no racing seat in it. So this seat won't hug me as nice, which I'm disappointed about. And there's another angle. Bit of before and after. It's still pretty clean, like it still stands out. It still breaks some necks, but it's just not as cool because it's not as gangster and super low. But we all knew that was going to happen. That was the whole point of bringing it back to stock. So hopefully I'll not get in trouble and won't get so much attention with it like this. A bit dark, gee. So all back to stock. This is everything it came off. Doesn't look like much. It was probably only an hour and a half worth of work, so that's pretty good. Brakes, calipers, intake, the wheels, and the spacers. So yeah, it's back to stock. All the other mods that I have on there aren't illegal, so we're just going to leave them on. It'll look like this. So I'm embarrassed to drive around town with this, but it means I actually can drive it. So yeah, here I am using my bride seat even when it's on the car, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty much all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I enjoyed making it. I would really want to focus on more of the mechanical stuff from now on, so working on my mates' cars, and they're going to come over and we're going to work on their cars, or go to theirs, work on their cars. I've got a lot of mates and stuff that have some cool cars to show off. I also have run a page called Club Joy on Instagram, so it's about basically my local town's car community, Japanese inspired. So some really cool builds on there, S15, like modified Falcon Utes, heaps of different stuff, Civics. So yeah, go check that out if you want as well. I'll put it on the screen and down below. But yeah, hopefully we get some more videos soon. I've got some parts on the lineup for the Mira, so it won't be stock for very long. Depends how long the parts take. So we're going to come back with Daihatsu 500 V3, because at the moment it was V2. So yeah, V3 coming soon. I'll change it up, get some different wheels, stuff like that. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you soon in the next video. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you later.